right, joining me now is Cody Gibson, who will be fighting next at XMMA 2 on July the 30th. Cody, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, man, and it's been far too long since we've seen you compete inside the cage for any promotion. You got to go all the way back to September of 2018. So my first question is, obviously the pandemic made everyone prevented everyone from fighting, right? But I mean, that was only for a year or so. What was the deal for the long layoff? Because I'm sure you wanted to stay a little bit more active than you have been.
Yeah, I fought in September of 18 for the LFA, and got a big win against a tough Brazilian prospect, and planned on staying busy. And I actually signed on to fight in the 145-pound tournament for the PFL in 2019. And I tore my bicep in training for that fight. Had surgery, had physical therapy, and rehabbed, and then tore my 2 places in my shoulder, my labrum, after that. So literally all of 2019 was spent, training, injuring myself, having surgery, and then doing physical therapy. So I really was, at the beginning of 2020, was, itching to get back in there and get active again. And then the pandemic hit, and then so that it's been, not because I wanted it to, but 2 years now, and so I'm eager to get back in there for sure.
Yeah, I can only imagine. How healthy are you feeling now with all those injuries, getting through all of that? I mean, I know training camp is super grueling. It can be a big grind on your body. How healthy are you feeling as we're just a couple short weeks away from fight night?
That was one of my concerns kind of going into the fight camp. I mean, I've been training all through 2020 after my physical therapy finished up in like January, February, March of 2020. Since then, I've been training, but it's always different in fight camp, when you're doing that to your body on a daily basis. And so that was one of my concerns as I headed into this one, was like, I wonder if my body is going to hold up, because I'm 0 for 2 the last 2 attempts. And it's been surprisingly really good. I've been healthy, no major injuries at all. So knock on wood, we still got a couple weeks to go, but I think I'm going to make it.
Oh, that's good to hear, man. As far as this camp goes, who have been some of the main partners you've been getting your working with?
I moved to the Central Coast last August, and I train at the Pit now with John Hackelman and Antonio Benuelos, and Justin Frazier's our jiu-jitsu coach, and Castle Williams up in the north, Tascadero North, the Pit North. So actually, there's 3 locations, and I train at all 3 of the gyms on different days. But yeah, I come from a small town with a small gym, and I really had to piece throughout my whole career. I've pieced together. I trained jiu-jitsu at a jiu-jitsu gym. I boxed a lot in the local boxing community, but it was always just like piecing it together. But there was never really like a mixed martial arts team or school or gym that I trained at. And so this has been a big adjustment where everything I do is geared around mixed martial arts. Even from my early days, and I trained jiu-jitsu all the time, but it was like sport jiu-jitsu. We competed at IBJJF tournaments, and that was the whole stick. Now I'm training jiu-jitsu with the added caveat of punching each other in the face, and so that changes things, And Antonio Benuelos has been, he's an OG in the sport, and he's got a ton of knowledge. And I was a little bit unsure when I moved here, coming to a new gym, but it's been great. I've been here for almost a year now, and they've really, opened their doors to me with open arms. And yeah, I mean, it's my first time really being in a mixed martial arts gym for a training camp, so it's been different, but I'm enjoying it.
Very cool. Now, when you mention the Pit, I immediately think of Chuck Liddell. Has the Iceman been around much?
No, the Iceman moved to Los Angeles area, and he's not up here too often anymore. But I do on Saturday. Every Saturday, I go to the compound, is what they call it. It's at John Hackelman's house up in the hills of Arroyo Grande, and he's got a cage outside under a gazebo looking, kind of thing. And we spar in the cage, and then John puts us through some kind of sadistic conditioning workout. So that's my Saturdays pretty much for the last year.
Gotcha, man. I used to live in the Los Angeles area, Culver City and Woodland Hills. What is California like nowadays, man? Because I hear a lot of people are moving out of Cali and going to Texas or Vegas or wherever. How is it for you? Are you enjoying it there?
Yeah, I mean, I've been here since '89, so I'm from Oklahoma actually originally, but yeah, I've been here and I've lived in the Bay Area, the Central Valley, and now the Central Coast. I love it over here. Um, yeah, you hear a lot about people leaving, but there seems to still be a lot of people here, so I don't know.
Yeah, man, the traffic there is like no other. That's the one thing that I do not miss is having to plan an hour and a half ahead of time just to get someplace that's 15 minutes away. But I'll digress. Anyone that has lived there or has visited knows what that's all about. Tell me what your hobbies are outside of training MMA. I mean, are you a surfer? Do you get into do anything active outside there, like on the water or the mountains? Like, what else do you like to do?
Yeah, I like doing anything in the outdoors, you know. I've gotten into surfing a little bit since I moved over here. Um, I grew up like fishing, hiking, backpacking. Um, my neighbor's from New Zealand, my next door neighbor, and he goes mountain biking all the time. So he took me for my first mountain biking trip a couple of months ago, and it did not end well. Uh, I toppled over the top of the bike, and I still got some scars from it, but I mean, I told him I'll do it again. It was a lot of fun, but I bit off a little bit more than I could chew as far as speed on the downhill.
Yeah, no doubt. You got to be careful with that, man. You don't want another injury to prevent you from stepping in the cage, right?
For sure. Yeah, and honestly, like I don't have the time to do a whole lot besides train. I work full time. I'm a high school teacher, and I got two daughters. So most of my free time, the little bit that I have, is spent hanging out with them and doing stuff with them.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, with the sport of MMA evolving the way that it is, you being a guy that already made it to the UFC, that's a veteran there of the promotion, do a lot of the younger kids in high school, do they know who you are and what you've done and accomplished already?
Yeah, they know. Yeah, I kind of talk about it. I try to use it as kind of like a motivation to the students that I don't come from much, you know. So if I could, you know, reach for the stars, so to speak, or if I could set a goal and reach, the pinnacle of the sport and fight in the UFC, then there's really nothing stopping any of them from achieving what they want to achieve as well. So I try to just take some of the lessons that I've learned and pass it on to them. I don't focus on it too much, and usually the boys care a lot more than the girls. The girls are just kind of like, okay, they don't really care too much. But some of the boys will ask a lot of questions about fighting or tell me they want to spar. Hey, will you spar with me? I'm like, nah, probably not. I mean, you can come to the gym, I guess, but I always try to get them to join the wrestling team too. So I use it as a recruitment tool.
There you go, smart man. Wrestling is one of the best sports on planet Earth. I gotta ask, man, is your goal now at this point in your career? Is it to make it back to the UFC? Is that where your head's at, or will you be happy if you're fighting other shows? I mean, there's so many great promotions now. XMMA looks like one of those promotions that are on the rise. So just tell me where your mind is at right now as far as that.
I'm just taking it one fight at a time. I'm just happy to be back in the cage finally, and hopefully, if this fight goes well and I can do what I think I'm gonna do, just staying active with whatever promotion that is. I think my biggest, I'm undefeated at bantamweight since I left the UFC, and they've all been against top prospects. But my biggest kind of crutch has been inactivity. And just not being active enough. So my main goal is just to get active and try to get more fights this year and see what happens in 2022. And if that means it's a call back to the UFC, I love that. I love that opportunity. I know I can compete at the highest level against the best guys, and do well. But if it's not, then I'm not like banking on it or like that's the only thing. I'm open to any promotion. I just want to keep doing this as long as I can do it. I know my clock is ticking a little bit, so as long as my wife still allows me to, and my body's holds up, I'm gonna keep fighting.
Very good. Now, your originally scheduled opponent for this card is a guy that people know pretty well, another UFC fighter, John Dodson. And unfortunately, he got in a car accident. I sure hope he's doing well. I haven't heard any reports as to his condition right now and if it's severity, but how disappointing is that? Because that would have been a big win. I mean, to get back in there and fight a guy like him of his stature, that would be a signature win. So, how's your emotions as far as that goes? Does it matter who it is, or are you just happy to be back in there fighting?
Well, I think above all else, I'm just happy to be back in there fighting, but it definitely added to the excitement. I want big names and big opportunities, and I want to look at the betting odds and be a big underdog. I like that. I like people doubting what I can and cannot do, and then trying to prove them wrong, and that was the case with John. It was super unfortunate that he was in this gnarly car accident. His whole family it's like the worst nightmare to be in a big car accident like that with your whole family. Luckily, they all lived and they're recovering and they're all going to be okay, I think. But yeah, it was a bit of a letdown when he had to withdraw from the fight. But I've got a top prospect now from Canada. He's 8-2. He trains at TriStar, a black belt in jiu-jitsu under Farasa Hobbies. So maybe not the name recognition, but definitely somebody, watched a little footage on him. Definitely has the skills. So I've got to take him seriously, whether he has the name or not.
Yeah, for sure. Good Lord. I didn't realize it was his whole family in a car accident. That is scary. That is an absolute nightmare. Well, I'm glad to hear that everyone is okay and they're on the mend. That's great news. So, God bless all of them. Hope that they're, feeling as good as possible. Now, this fight here is going to be in Greenville, South Carolina. When do you actually make the trip down there? Because I'm sure that's a little bit of a flight for you to make it there.
Yeah, we're fighting Friday and we leave Tuesday. So we'll take off Tuesday, travel pretty much all of Tuesday. We'll have Wednesday to kind of just get some workouts in and move around. And then weigh-ins Thursday and fights Friday, which is kind of the way I like it. It gives us one day to kind of be there and acclimate a little bit, but not too much time to, UFC was always like 5 days before the fight, and you just kind of like sit in those Vegas hotels or wherever you're fighting at. And I fought in Brazil and Texas, and and you just kind of stir, and I like the fact that it's going to be a travel day, one day there, then it's weigh in and fight. So not too much time.
Yeah, very good. Now your opponent, Louie Sanoudakis, I probably butchered that last name, but that's as good as I can do. He's 8-2. He's got a lot of unanimous decision victories, and his two losses are by way of UD. When you look at this matchup here stylistically, how does it favor you?
I mean, my biggest advantage is definitely my ability to dictate where the fight takes place. Um, my wrestling, whether I wanted to be standing or on the ground. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. And really you could tell from his early fights that he's got good jiu-jitsu. He's got a really good, some great sweeps, some dangerous submissions he throws up. But you could tell in his last few fights that his hands have come a long way. So his stand-up's getting better as well. But I just feel like I'm going to be able to dictate where the fight takes place, the pace of the fight. I'm a pressure fighter. I move forward. He's a southpaw, and John Dodson was a southpaw as well, so I didn't have to change that up at least. I'm fighting a southpaw, and he's a different southpaw. He doesn't have the footwork that John Dodson had. A little bit more of a traditional southpaw, but yeah, I feel like I'm going to have an advantage on the feet, and if I want to put him on his butt, then I'm going to have the ability to do that as well. But I'm looking to finish him. I'm emphasizing a finish. I want to get a finish in this fight. So whether it be with a right hand or a left hook or a submission, if he leaves his neck out there or something, that's kind of my thought process and my goal going forward with this.
Hey, very good, man. Well, I'm just excited that you're climbing back into the cage and the fans can see you compete here. It's been far too long. Again, July 30th, XMMA 2, Cody Gibson, Louie Sanoudakis. It's a pleasure interviewing you here for the first time today, man. Before I let you go, I want to give you the floor. Tell people where to follow you on social media, and if you have anyone to thank, the floor is yours.
All right, thanks. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at the Renegade 559. I just want to thank the guys of the pit. I think it's been nice to be a part of a new team and for them to open their doors to me and accept me and into the team, and they're a tight knit team. So it's been cool to the last year to become a part of the team. And I've always got to thank my wife for allowing me to do this, because it's a big sacrifice for her as well. So yeah, just those people, and thank you for having me today. I appreciate it.